Welcome to the Wellness Abundance Podcast. I'm Melissa King, your podcast host, certified master health coach, certified personal trainer, and founder of Wellness Abundance Coaching. The purpose of this podcast is to share healthy lifestyle tips to empower you to design the abundant life you want and deserve. I'll chat with inspiring people who have built a strong foundation to build a life they love. I believe we all have the power within ourselves to create wellness abundance in all areas of our life. We simply need to find the courage within ourselves to take action. Our vision for this podcast is to help you create wellness abundance in your life with clarity, empowerment, and flexibility. Grab your favorite beverage and enjoy the episode. My guest today is my friend Landon Gilfillan. Landon is a nutritionist and health coach who is really knowledgeable about nutrition, time management, and creating healthy habits. During this episode, we talk about eating disorders, how life is not stagnant, getting your kids in the kitchen, and more. If you're a mom and struggle to get healthy meals on the table for your family, Landon is the coach for you. I'm so grateful to call Landon my friend and health coach colleague, as she truly is an amazing woman. So I hope you enjoy Landon and I's conversation. Well, welcome back to another fun Wellness Abundance podcast episode. I'm so excited to have my friend Landon Gilfillan. Did I say it right?
Gilfillan.
Gilfillan. Yes. I was just practicing before we hit record and I missed it. One of these days, I'll get it right. So Landon is a nutritionist and we connected through a different program, different health and wellness program. So I'm really excited, Landon, to have you on because I know you really focus on meal plans. And that's an area that I have consciously chosen not to focus on with my health and fitness coaching practice. But I'm just so excited to chat with you today, Landon, because I feel like some people really benefit from having a super structured meal plan. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to turn it over to you, Landon, and kind of have you share like what led you to this type of work.
Well, I wouldn't say, I'm just going to make a little joke that I wasn't really led to meal planning necessarily, but I was led to nutrition at a pretty early age. And that was because I struggled with eating disorders. And when I remember as a sixth grader getting on my mom's really old recumbent bike and putting on my dance leotards or whatever, and just having this sort of desire in me and feeling that I needed to exercise. I still find that so odd today. Like, where did that come from? I was a sixth grader, but I kind of had that mentality early on. And then by the time I got to middle school, so I was 14. I specifically remember sitting in the cafeteria, staring at my oily pizza and just having this like urge to get all the oil and the fat off. And then I eventually started taking the cheese off, and then I started taking the pepperonis off. And looking back, I realized that was during the height of the fat-free era. If you think of those old, what were those called? Those snack foods they were like puffy chocolate bites or whatever, that were the fat-free craze. You know what I'm talking about?
I think they were they snack wells?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I can't believe I remember that. Oh my gosh.
Can't either.
I could see it. I could see the package in my head and the little puffy chocolate. Yes. Oh my gosh. Wow.
That was my era. And so looking back as an adult, when I'm like trying to like figure out what in the world drove me to do what I did, I probably was getting messages from who knows what, TV and magazines, just about body image and the diet I should be eating and all these things. It just amazes me that it caught me as a 14-year-old. And that was way before social media, way before we had all that stuff in our face like we do today. But anyway, I already struggled with a really low self-image and self-esteem. And so that just kind of played into it and trying to become this person that I thought I needed to be. So I started taking all fat out of my diet to the point that all I would eat were saltines and carrot sticks. I remember I even stopped drinking milk, which had been something that my mother had fed us for a really long time. And it did become, it was a very obsessive mentality. And on top of that, I took my recumbent bike and my exercising desire of 6th grade and turned it into this whole exercising craze where if I went a day without exercising, I thought I was just going to put on 5 or 10 pounds overnight. It was such an obsession. I thought about food all the time. I thought about exercise all the time. It was all I did. I actually trained my body to learn to get rid of food to where I could just think about it. And then, I don't want to go into detail, but it was just that bad. But what's interesting is when I was a 9th grader, which was kind of at the height of that, one of my English classes, we had to do a research project. And for some crazy reason, I decided to do a research project on eating disorders, which again, when I'm thinking back, I'm like, how did I even know what an eating disorder was?
Yeah.
But maybe I had a hint in my mind that this was something that I was struggling with. And so I did this research project and it really opened my eyes to what I was struggling with. My friends already knew, they may not have known like specific terms, like eating disorder, but they knew I was struggling with something and I was kind of in denial. So this research project taught me a lot about maybe what I was struggling with. And from that point, I just sort of latched on to nutrition and physiology and learning about the body. And it just became my new obsession in a good way. And I actually remember my aunt gave me her copy of Dr. Atkins' diet. It was like, that was starting to become a big crave back then. I remember reading that book cover to cover, but what I learned from it, even though I don't necessarily promote its principles, what I learned from it was so much of how our body uses food and certain types of food to be able to function properly. And I realized real quick, like, oh my goodness, I am not feeding my body anything. Like I am completely devoiding it of what it needs. And so I started on my own, started to add back in fats, and I made sure I was adding in the right fats. And I remember I would like increase my fat intake 5 grams a day for like a week. And then I'd go up to 10 grams. And this took me a while to finally get up to something that was normal for a teenage girl to be intaking. And of course I was experiencing other side effects, like I lost my cycle and my hair started thinning out and things like that. So I experienced all of that, but I basically kind of pulled myself out of the eating disorder and found a passion for nutrition. And it was something that has stayed with me since. So that's how I got into it. And it's always been something I've pursued on the side. I was always reading nutrition books. I was always learning about something in the food world. And I actually worked at a health food store. So that was helpful. My best friend's parents owned a local health food store. So I was kind of exposed to, this was sort of when health food stores were more like granola and not that normal.
Yeah. Not like commonplace on every street corner.
Yeah, it was not common at the time. So I was exposed to magazines and like alternative health things that I probably would not have gotten exposed to otherwise. And I always say that working at that store played a really critical role in sort of where I went with nutrition. So instead of like going the registered dietitian route, I went more of a holistic route and functional route. And I don't think I would have done that had I not worked at that store and had exposure to that type of, environment for as long as I did. So that's really how I got my start. And everywhere I was in my life, I was always helping someone. When I was in the Navy, they knew that I was passionate about exercise and nutrition. So I became one of the petty officers that helped people stay, because, when you're in the military, you have to stay within certain regulations with weight and health. And so I was that person. And eventually, after I got married, my husband was like, why are you not pursuing this as a career? You're spending all this time doing it anyway. You should pursue it. And that's when I went and got my master's and my certification. So that's the long story short, sort of.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the fact that you brought up, like it doesn't matter which decade you grew up in, where your teenage girls specifically are still getting that marketing message
Yep.
that, low fat is bad. Now may not be low fat, or low fat's good, high fat's bad, or fat's just bad for you in general. Now, a lot of it can be the opposite, where there's a lot of mixed messages.
Yep.
Thanks to social media and the internet these days, and this is one thing that I find with my clients too, is one of the reasons they come to me is they're just simply confused
Yeah.
as to what's healthy and what's not healthy. And I put both those in quotes because it's really, on an individual basis. So, yeah. So
Yeah, and for people like you and I who have lived in like the generation of low fat is bad, and now, low fat is, wait, let me think about that. Low fat is good, and now low fat is bad. We're like, what? How did that switch? Like, do a complete 180. So, therein lies the confusion with every decade and every, whatever. There's a new thing that you're supposed to do, and it may be completely opposite of what you were originally taught.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And and like you said, there's so many different reasons why there are these trendy diets. When, I feel like when we were growing up, a lot of it was just because processed food was more prominent, and the companies who made the processed food just were really, really good at marketing. Their marketing message was very, very strong, that their product was so much healthier for you, and you shouldn't eat all these, extra fats and all this stuff. Their product was just so much better. But the reality is, like, when you focus on eating whole foods, like, you can't go wrong with that, basically. Anyways,
basically.
So that should be it. Like, it's, to me, and also to my husband, it's kind of like common sense. Like, just eat whole foods, but then we have all these other marketing messages that we're just being saturated with, thanks to internet, back when we were going to TV commercials, and we were bombarded with that. Whatever it was. Yeah, it's always going to be something. So that's where I feel like you and I, what we do for our line of work, it's always going to be needed, regardless of how much impact we make and how much progress we make. I feel like the work that you and I do in the health and wellness space is always going to be needed to some extent. So, yeah.
Well, just like you said, I mean, it doesn't matter what you come from. There's always a new message out there that you're going to help someone, translate or figure out what, marketing is. It's a big thing, and it can really, really turn people upside down in their health. So, and as we, as time goes on, I can imagine it would only get worse. So there's always going to be someone that needs some, education or help or coaching to figure out what is right for them. So, yep.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you work with your clients.
So that's evolved over time too, for sure. I got my master's in holistic nutrition. Like I said, I really wanted to learn really how food could really be used as medicine, which is almost like a faux pas thing to say these days. But it really is. I mean, that was the original thing that we were given to nourish, that is the point of food. We get to enjoy. That's like the bonus, but food is meant to nourish your body and help it do the things it needs to do to function, so we can, thrive and not just survive. So initially I'm trying to think back when I started, kind of what my motto or my main focus was, but basically I tend to have an audience that struggles with, food addiction and food obsession. Imagine that. we tend to attract the people. Yeah, we tend to attract the people that are, we once were, or that we have a specific message to. So I find myself working a lot with women who are coming out of college and starting to go into the workforce, and they're trying to figure out, they've been living this, who knows what kind of lifestyle in college, and now they're trying to eat it out and just be stable, for lack of a better word. And and even moms really who have just been through the ringer of diet after diet after diet, and now they're trying to feed their family, and just the craziness of all of it makes it really difficult, even just to get a meal on the table and feel like you have your sanity in place while you're doing it. So I find myself working with a lot of moms right now, young and old, who are just trying to find the time and the place to take care of themselves and their families. So I do one-on-one coaching, obviously, to really dial into any specific issues. And that could be a specific health issue, whether someone is battling like, food addiction and food obsession, or a health issue like, food sensitivities or something with their thyroid. And honestly, I can work with people who are really just trying to get it together, just try to get organized. And that's where the meal planning comes in really handy. And how do I, in the midst of craziness and 5 kids and work and whatever, try to organize my time and my thoughts so that I can get healthy food on the table, feed my family, feed my body without feeling like I'm losing my mind. So that's kind of where the coaching comes in. And then I offer a meal plan service, obviously, to sort of supplement the things that they're learning and coaching with me, or even on the outside of coaching. So that's basically what I do.
Yeah, I love the idea of working with women fresh out of college. I feel like that for me especially was a really confusing time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my dad telling me when I was in college, because I worked part-time in college and then had a full workload with school. And I remember my dad telling me, like, I think I was in my last year in college, and he's like, just wait until you graduate. You're not going to know what to do with your time. Because he and I are a lot alike, where we have to be busy.
Yeah.
And he's retired now, and he has a hard time like sitting and not doing stuff. And I'm like that too. So he's like, you're going to have a hard time, Melissa. Just prepare for this. And I remember just with that, like being like, oh my God, I only have to go to a full-time job. I don't have to come home and study or go to a class. I don't have to do anything. And just that time, like mentally for me and emotionally I was a little off kilter with it. And then that's when for my personal health journey, like started to gain weight because I just wasn't eating I wasn't eating healthy. I kind of fell off the bandwagon. And I feel like if I had someone like you in my life at the time, it would have been a much easier transition. So I think that's really, really cool that you tend to attract those women fresh out of college to help kind of set them up for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and it really is that. There's one client I think of in particular that I still work with today. I've worked with her off and on since, gosh, I feel like it's been 8 years. And we started originally working together when she was out of college, and she was struggling with that college weight and trying to, like I said, trying to get some stability. And now she's a mom of about to be 3, and there's still some of those tendencies that want to be there, but she's kind of coming at a different angle now. So it's interesting to see like her journey. But even in our journeys where we've made successes, there's still points where we need to meet someone to get through the next in the road. That's true for you, I'm sure, and for me.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you brought that up because I feel like some people view like health coaching or personal training as like, okay, I'm going to do these 12 coaching sessions with my coach and then I'm done. I'm going to be free of this. And the reality is you might be, but most likely you will not be, because I have repeat clients as well. And just because we go through different phases of life, different stages, and it's a learning curve. Like your client who you worked with right out of college, and then now she's a mom, soon to be a mom of 3, you said. And that's just a huge life change, with the college to real life, to full-time working transition. And then from marriage and kids. And then I also have some clients who are now empty nesters or soon to be empty nesters. So they're in a new stage of life. And so it's a
Yeah,
different transition, you
it really
know?
is. I mean, I sometimes I have a feeling you probably have thought this too, but like I've been doing this for a long time, and every so often I have this thought, like, how do I not have this together yet? And it's because like life just is not stagnant. There's just
Yeah.
always going to be something else that you're presented with that you have to work through. And truthfully, that's a good thing. Because if you're not
Mhm.
challenging yourself, if you're not challenged, being challenged by things, you don't grow. And so while it does not feel fun in the middle of it, to actually work through something that is challenging you, you come out on the other side with, you like as a skill set, you've
Mhm.
worked all those neurons in your brain and created some new pathways. And um, so again, like it never feels fun in the moment, but like we are never going to stop facing challenges. And so why not give yourself some support along the way to get through it and prepared for the next one, really?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I also feel like it's not just like our lifestyle changes and our routine changes when we get out of college and then we get married, then you have kids and then your kids grow up. Well, and then as your kids are growing up, you know,
Yeah.
they are going through different stages.
Oh,
So they start to slowly become more and more independent.
yeah.
And then like I know my sister right now, like my oldest nephew's in college and my youngest nephew, he's a junior in high school, but now soccer season just started. And so now she's busy with that, so it's always something. So and I also feel like not just do we like along with women and men too, but mostly with women, like our hormones change
Oh, yeah.
as we age. So, like you may notice it now, like if you're in your 40s, your cycle may be kind of fluctuating a little bit, and you may have different like PMS
Uh-huh.
symptoms, or you may have irregular cycles,
Yeah.
and everything just changes,
Yes.
once you kind of hit that premenopausal phase, and so tell us a little bit about like how you work with clients with hormone fluctuations.
I'm only laughing because like this was me yesterday because I am 44, about to be 45. So I am like right there. I
Hmm.
had a baby well, it'll be a year and a half ago. So my hormones were like all over the place. I was like starting in my 40s and I had a baby. And then she stopped nursing, and then here I am back to my 40s. So my body went way wacko the last month. And so even I had to be like, oh, okay, what's going on here? How do I address this? You know, so a lot of it can be managed with food. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can eat or not eat that can really take a toll on your hormones. But even more than that is just your lifestyle, like your stress and your sleep. Those play huge factors into the ability for your body to manage itself. So if you're really short on sleep, if you're not giving it the nutrients it needs, especially when you're entering into like these pre-menopausal or any sort of hormone change, you can start taking steps backward. This is when you start feeling the fatigue and the exhaustion and the brain fog and all the things that come along with it. So you kind of have to catch up to where you are. You have to figure out what those trigger points are. And then if you need additional support with food or supplements, and then kind of that's where that comes in. So one client in particular, I'm trying to think of her age. She's not quite in the menopausal by any stretch of the imagination, but she's going back and forth with the hormones and having babies and lactation and then taking the break and then coming back into. So, we just have to assess kind of where she is in that process
Hmm.
and then address I say simple because I think a lot of times people immediately think, what supplement do they need to be on? What thing do they need to be putting, changing and putting in that realm or testing, when really it can be something that's daily, like sleep. What are your
Hmm.
sleep habits like? What are you doing right before bed? Because if your circadian rhythms are off, then your hormones are just going to be wacky. So sometimes we have to dial things back to real simple, elemental things like your sleep, and then how are you managing stress? Like, what are your stress points and what are you doing about that stress? because those things can really disrupt, thyroid, adrenals, hormones, and a lot of things that women face on a daily basis. I don't know if that answered your question. That's,
Yeah, it does. And that's how I work with my clients as well. I'm not a nutritionist or dietitian or anything like that. So technically I can't specifically recommend supplements or specifically nutrients. I could say, hey, this is the research that I've done. This XYZ is has been known to. Yeah, I could suggest. But I think that's really, but I usually do the whole, like, what's your nighttime routine? What are you doing at night? Like, tell me about your nighttime. And we just actually I just had a group coaching session a couple nights ago, and this week's topic was sleep. And that's exactly what we talked about. What's your morning routine and what's your evening routine? Because your sleep, your ability to fall asleep and get quality sleep actually starts in the morning when you wake up. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Oh,
like people don't, they don't think about that.
Yeah. Just go outside and expose your eyeballs to the sun. You would not believe how much that would completely change what you're experiencing.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's really cool that you work with that, because that's also, those are things that, that people have some control over. Maybe not a lot, if you, depending on your specific lifestyle, but those are things that you can get dialed in. And if you need help, reach out for help. Someone like Landon or myself, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you, really get your nighttime routine dialed in and your morning routine to help you sleep better, because that's just incredibly important. And I personally think sleep is the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
That is underrated.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and like, as you were talking, I was thinking, I think a lot of people are intimidated to hire someone for support for several reasons. But one of them is because I think they imagine in their minds that it's going to be super hard. We're going to take out all these, going to take out all these things out of your diet. We're going to make you do, X, Y, Z, and your life's just going to be miserable. But really, like you said, the first things that we go after are those lowest hanging fruits. What you can have the most success with first. Let's just dial it down to what is the simplest thing that we can address right now that's going to give you some success and get the ball rolling. Because if you just attack your client with, the whole list of things they've got to take out and do and X, Y, Z, then, you're kind of, I don't want to say you're staring down failure, but you're really not setting a client or yourself up for success. So all I'm saying is, I know that you and I are along the same lines when it comes to this, but we are, as coaches and even as a nutritionist, what we're helping you see are those things you're not seeing, things that I have to have someone look at me and say, oh, this is what's going on, because I'm just blind to it. So a lot of times a coach is just helping you see those points that you are completely missing. And you may not realize how important your sleep is, and that one or two things that you're doing at night is what's causing a lot of it, the base issues. So it doesn't have to be an intimidating process, and it's saving you, the client, so much time and energy having to do all this research yourself, because these are things that we've studied. These are things that we're trained in, that we read on, enjoy it. And we're basically giving you the jet ride to Europe instead of taking the paddle boat.
Yeah.
Let us help you get there quicker, because we can point those things out, and it does not have to be this excruciating process.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be.
Right.
That's like my philosophy is, it should not be like, oh my gosh, you should not wake up in the morning after you sign on to work with either myself or Landon and like dread your coaching session. It should not be about that. And I know, I just really want to, like Landon and I, we've been friends for a while now, and we've gotten to know each other pretty well. And we have very similar philosophies when it comes to coaching. We really strive to create like a safe non-judgment zone, and really so you can be vulnerable and totally transparent with us. And I just really want to emphasize that also with Landon, that she is like that. I'm talking about you in third person, but just to really emphasize to our listeners, like if you are a mom, and you struggle with this, like Landon is the coach that I would refer you to. I'm not a parent myself. I'm happy to help, but Landon has the personal experience. She has 5 kids. So she knows what it's like to be a mom and to kind of create that balance and also get your kids involved
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
I,
definitely. It's really
I,
cute. I'm actually running a challenge right now. I know you are too. And my kids are like, can we do it with you?
that's so cool. I love it. I know. I remember like sometime last fall when we had a meetup, you were like your son was cooking, like making dinner in the kitchen or something, or some
Yeah.
making a meal in the kitchen, and then you texted me a photo later on of the food or something. I was like, oh my gosh, that's why you have kids. You train
It
them
is.
to cook in the kitchen, and then they cook for you.
Yes. Yeah. That can be super intimidating though. I mean, and I'm speaking from experience. So all you moms out there, this is for you. Because if you're like I was, or I should say I am, trying to get your kids in the kitchen can actually be super intimidating because initially it's a heck of a lot more work on you,
Yeah.
to teach them to be patient when they make a mess, to explain everything. I mean, I vividly remember thinking it would just be so much easier if it's just me. But I'm so glad I let go of my, perfectionist tendencies and my need to have everything clean and shiny, because now last night I was not feeling well, and my 2 daughters got in there and they threw together some dinner. They worked together. One person focused on the meat, the other person focused on the pasta, and my son was in there putting together a chocolate cream pie.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's awesome.
I was able to go get in bed and they handled dinner, and then they ended up making me breakfast in bed this morning. So yes, that it's worth the effort. If you think about gardening, that's another passion of mine. There's a lot of work that is involved on the
Mhm.
front end and sometimes, in the middle as well too. But you get this awesome thing at the end, but you have to be willing to put in that effort to glean the fruit. So that goes with everything, getting your kids in the kitchen, working through coaching to get that fruit, whatever it is for you.
Mhm. Yes, yes. So patience is key, is the message in
Patience.
that.
And like, just let your kitchen be messy, because you know what? You can
Yes,
always clean it up.
yes, exactly. I feel like that with my husband, and I love my husband so much. He's the greatest guy, but I'm more like kitchen savvy. I know my way around the kitchen a lot better than he does. But we take turns cooking just to split up the the meals.
Yeah.
Yes, because for a while there I was getting very overwhelmed. So I was like, "Can you help me, please?" But I have to, yeah, like rein myself in and not micromanage and not be like, "Oh my God, like you spilled a little meat juice. Can you clean that up right now?" On the countertop, because otherwise my head's gonna explode.
Uh,
Sometimes. So I have to like, rein myself in and
yes.
um
100.
yeah, not be so, but he does a great job when he cleans up. So he grew up in a household where his mother wanted everything clean, still
Mm,
does. So she trained him very well to clean up after himself. So he know
there you go.
yeah, but yes, I feel like it's super important also to just get your family involved in general. Whether you have kids, a spouse, a partner, it doesn't matter. Just get your family involved in it. And it's something you could do together,
Hmm.
and like your kids were probably so excited to bring you breakfast in bed this morning
Yeah,
and to
they
take
were.
care of you because you take care of them all the time.
Yeah, it
I
was
mean,
pretty.
good.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah. So you know, one of the biggest challenges for me over the past, well, 14 years now is, is learning how to incorporate, health in a family setting, because my children's needs are very different from mine. My husband's needs are very different from mine. What I don't want to do is bring this like obsessive, scrutinizing, like
Mm-hmm.
what we eat, all the like this balance of just learning to enjoy food, especially for my teenage daughter, and not making it a thing like what it was for me, where food became the enemy. So again, there's like this ebb and flow of sometimes I need to like rein some things in, which is why I'm doing this challenge with some people on my coaching. I'm coaching people right now, coaching clients. There we go. Because there's a couple of things that I need to get like back in order. There's always an ebb and a flow, and there's always a balance, wherever you are. And one lady that I am friends with, she has 12 kids.
Oh
12.
my gosh. Wow.
Well, I'm like, that's more than double than what I have. Anyway,
Oh,
she's
geez.
super, as you can probably imagine, but she said something to me years ago that I've always remembered. And I think I have said this to every single one of my coaching clients because it makes such a point. But she's like, we always have so many plates spinning. Like if you can just imagine, you've got all these plates spinning. Right now, maybe this plate over here you've got spinning is meal planning, right? You've got your meal planning down. Maybe you're here, this plate is your exercise routine. You've got exercising going. And this plate over here is your kids' soccer. You've got soccer going on. But this plate back here, it's falling off. It's like, it can't spin right now. Like you just can't manage. You've got the 3 going, but this one back here, it's stopped. But eventually you're going to pick that plate back up and you'll start spinning it. But maybe this one over here is done. And like what she was trying to present is it's sort of the ebb and flow of life of these plates spinning. I can be really great at meal planning. And then there's like a month where there is no meal planning whatsoever. But that doesn't mean that I'm a horrible mom. It doesn't mean that I'm completely unhealthy and out of whack. It just means that plate is not the one that I have to focus on to keep. Now there's some other plates spinning that require my attention and focus, and I'll eventually pick that one back up when it becomes a priority, So I just think that's such a great picture of like when you determined your why, why you want to get coaching, why something is really important to you. Like what are the plates that you're going to focus on to keep spinning, and what are the ones that you can let fall off without feeling like a failure.
That's a really great analogy. I have clients who do not have kids and they come to me and they're like, all right, I want to make all these changes, or I know I need to make all these changes. So let's just dive right in and get started and do all of them. It has to be all or nothing. And I'm always like, hold on, like, let's just pause right now and take a breath and focus on one thing at a time. And then we'll slowly layer, because it's so challenging to just do everything all at once. And I'm not perfect either. I teach fitness classes at a local company 3 days a week, and I really focus on emphasizing with them. I like people who have taken a break, like especially took a break over the holidays and then have joined the fitness classes. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so out of shape, Melissa, and I haven't worked out in like over a month. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I got COVID over Thanksgiving. I didn't work out for like 2 weeks. And
Yep.
then Christmas came around and New Year's, and I didn't work out for another 2 weeks. And yeah, I get you. And I probably didn't eat the healthiest those times. And all these things were happening that you know, I just let some healthy lifestyle habits go by the wayside temporarily. And just remembering that it's all temporary and that you'll get back to them later on once this specific thing passes, is really important to remember. Really, really important to remember. And I love that. I love it also when my clients who come to me that are like, it's all or nothing. I got to do it all, or I'm just going to give up. I make one little mistake. They think it's a mistake. It's really not. And then I'm just going to give up. And I love it when after a couple months of working with a client, they're like, okay, I'm taking baby steps. I've accepted it. Baby steps are the way to go. And I'm like, yes, that's great. That's awesome. And then,
Yes.
because I promise you, you'll find more success
Oh
when
yeah.
you do that. It may not feel like that in the moment, but really just not having to worry about all those plates spinning at one time. I mean, think like my head's spinning just thinking about all those plates
I,
spinning.
right? Because all you have all these things. That's exactly what you're supposed to feel like. How am I supposed to keep all of them spinning? You're not. You know.
Exactly. You're not. You're not. You're not supposed to keep all the plates spinning at one time. Um,
That's so
yeah.
funny. I laugh because I'm the person. I'm not anymore, but I've always been the all or nothing person. I hate baby steps. Like hit me like the 1, 2, 3 and I'll do it.
Yeah.
But when you have 5 kids and all their demands, and when I say demands, I mean it's legit.
Yep.
They can't do some of these things. Like I just can't do the 1, 2, 3 because I have to take baby steps in order to take care of them and just do whatever I can do in the moment to take care of that thing. So anyway, for me, that's been the biggest challenge and the biggest change is realizing it's okay. It's okay that this is my priority right now, that I'm doing this one thing and I'm doing it really well. And then when I get this one thing under my wing and I'm feeling confident in it, then I can move on to that other thing.
Hmm.
And again, I just think sometimes that's really hard for your client to imagine because they're thinking of how long it's going to take them before they finally reach their final goal or expectation. They're like, but that's going to take so long. And I'm like, actually, it'll probably take a lot shorter than you think because you're not
Yeah.
spinning out trying to do all these other things and getting nowhere.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. I would try to explain it to my clients. We're avid hikers and, we've hiked to a bunch of peaks locally and we've hiked Mount Whitney. And the first time we hiked Mount Whitney, we didn't make it to the summit, mostly because of weather.
I remember.
Um, yeah, and the second time I was like, okay, this time I'm doing it. Unless there's like a lightning storm at the top, I'm not going to the top because it's physically not safe. Unless it snows, there's ice, super ice, like a lot of ice, I'm not going. But if the weather's nice, the weather's decent, cold I could deal with. If the trail's clear for the most part, I'm getting to the top no matter what this time. And so I had to remind myself, like, how am I going to get to the top? Well, I'm going to do all this training, all this conditioning to get my body ready. So I'm going to take it one workout at a time, sometimes one movement at a time. And then when I get to the mountain, I'm going to take it one step at a time, just one step, and then another, and then another, and then another. And eventually, before I knew it, we were at the top of Mount Whitney summit. And it was like just such a fun experience for me, looking back. And so I try to use that analogy. It's like climbing a mountain, or a flight of stairs. If you don't like the
Yeah.
mountain analogy, like we all climb flights of stairs. Like, how do you get to the top of the stairs? Do you just jump up to the top? Do you fly? If you have a jetpack, maybe, but most of us don't have our jetpacks handy at all times.
Yeah.
But really, you take it one step at a time. Sometimes two steps, depending on how long your legs are and how tall the stairs are.
Yeah.
But you really just take it one or two steps at a time. And then before you know it, you're at the top of the staircase.
Yeah. And thinking about, everything we've talked about, that we've, talked about in the past. I know both of us are also really big on mindset. And I think really when it comes down to it's kind of learning to get your mindset in gear as well. Because if you can get some principles in your mind, like we're talking about, like the spinning plates and baby steps, you can really approach just about any challenge by going back to those basic principles. And again, that's another great place where a coach comes in because they can tease out those little mindset things that might be hanging you up. I like in thinking about the different challenges I've kind of faced, even within the last year, a lot of that comes back to like, well, what am I focusing on right now? Like what why do I have this all or nothing mindset? Or why am I so opposed to taking things slow? Or, whatever it is that I'm hung up on. So whether you're a coach like you are, or a nutritionist, or whatever the case may be, again, it comes back to just like those mental hangups that we can get stuck on that can really prevent us from moving forward, or get us moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's exactly what it takes when you're doing any sort of thing like climbing a summit or doing a marathon. It does come down to physical training, but a lot of it's mental training too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, with healthy lifestyle habits. I have some clients who are like, I'm terrible at meal plan. I'm lazy at meal planning. And really helping that, really, when you kind of change the story you're telling yourself, you swap stories with yourself, it makes such a big difference. And like a light bulb comes on, it's like, oh wait, no, I can do meal planning.
Yeah.
I just have to figure out how it works for me and how to work it into my schedule.
Yep. Yeah. I love, one of the things I love doing is showing people how much time they really do have in a day, because I had to learn that too. When I really started looking at where I was putting all my time, because we all have 24 hours in a day. You've heard this before, but how are some people able to get so much done? And some people are, like you're saying, well, I'm lazy, And for me, I was realizing I was putting so much time and energy into tasks that I didn't have to do right at that moment. Like, why does the kitchen have to be, brand spanking clean all the time? That's another plate I had to let go, so that I could get this other task accomplished. Like, I didn't need the entire house picked up and magazine ready for me to sit down and work on a meal plan. So, I just love teaching people, like, let's really look at your schedule. Let's see where the time is going. Because I guarantee you, it's not about the fact that you can't meal plan, that you don't have the skills, or whatever you want to enter in the print. It's really, there's a lot of time management that I teach my clients, because that's where a lot of time can get lost. And then you're scrapping at the end to try to get everything together. But if you can like start to look at your days and realize some of the things, again, that you can let go so that you can put a focus on, that can be life-changing. It was life-changing for me when I really looking at some of the things that I was spending time and energy on, that I really, like, for who? Why was I doing that? I was the only one that, I don't know. I just thought about that when we were talking about that just now.
Yeah, I'm really happy you brought up that point. That's a really good point. Time management is key. What are you doing with your time?
Yeah.
So I'm the same way, where I would be like, I'd eat a meal or make like a smoothie, coffee shake, anything, or even just a cup of coffee. I had to like clean up right afterwards. Right when right after I took the last sip of coffee, I had to wash all the coffee stuff, wash my mug. And especially working from home, that was a big challenge for me. Like, no, you do not need to wash the dirty dishes right away. You can let them, or do the laundry. You don't have to put the laundry away. It's still going to be there after you go do XYZ project. That's probably a priority in your life.
I have a business coach, and she always says, if your toilets are really, really squeaky clean, that there might be something to address there.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Toilets. I bet there's some time there that you could use.
Oh, yeah. And I also feel like, I was taught that too. I've been an entrepreneur for 18 years now, and I learned that 18 years ago when I first started my own side gig. And it was like, because I was like, how am I going to grow this side gig while working a full-time job? Well, I learned that 10 to 15 minute pockets of time make a big difference. Oh, yeah. And it's the same thing with like meal planning. Like, do you have 5 minutes to sit down and go through your fridge and your pantry to see what food you have? If you do that, do it. And then your next allotted 5, 10, 15 minutes, sit down and look for new recipes if that's what you want, or make a list of recipes you want to make. And in the next 15 minutes, make your grocery list from that. You don't have to sit down and do it all at once. And that's the all or nothing mindset too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to do it all right now. Well, no, actually you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I was to like, close up on a thought, it would be that, you really have all the skills,
Mm-hmm.
all the things you need to accomplish where you're going, like what your intention is. Now, there may be some skills that you have to strengthen and fine tune. A lot of it is just recognizing that it's there, or that it's an issue.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you very much probably have everything you need to get where you're going. It's just, we're guiding and directing you. We're just showing you,
Yes.
okay, so you're spending all your time cleaning the toilet. let's take a couple minutes from that and focus on like going through your fridge.
Yeah.
I just love helping people realize that, because it's like, oh man, I have all this time. I have all these things, these skills, these assets that I did not realize I had. I can do this. And that's such a great moment when your client realizes, oh, I can do this. I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like to have this person all the time telling me what to do. We're just guiding you to realize you know.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, and this is a great way to kind of close up our conversation. I have had a few people like reach out to me to learn more about my coaching services, who are like, "Can you just tell me what to do? Like, tell me what exercises to do. Tell me what to eat. I just need someone to tell me what to do." And honestly, those clients actually don't last long. They
Nope.
usually drop out of um, my programs, because that's not what we're here to. We're here to co-create with you, you know, and be a
Yeah.
sounding board for you, and help guide you through the process of
Well,
figuring out what.
there's the whole saying about teach a man to fish.
Mm-hmm.
He can fish the rest of his life. Like, we're here to teach you how to fish. If we just
Yep.
told you XYZ, but you didn't like learn from that and learn how to take that information and extract it to the rest of your life, then you're still not fishing,
Yep.
so we're teach you how to fish so you can take that forward, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, this was really fun, Landon. I'm glad
Yeah.
we finally had an opportunity to do this. So, two questions for you. The first
Sure.
one is, where can people find you if they want to work with you?
Yeah. I am pretty much solely through email and Facebook somewhat. My website is landongilfillan.com. And so my last name is tricky, but if you think of three words, Gil, Phil, Ann, that's how you start. G-I
Awesome.
Phil, Fillan. So LandonGilfillan.com. That's my website, Landon Gilfillan Nutrition. And if you sign up for my email, I always have some sort of freebie that I'm offering. It's usually a meal plan and like a 5-day like mental reset. I will give you lots of inspiration through my emails. I send out about twice a month. I send out a free meal plan. It usually has a different theme, whether it's like get ready for summer meals, or no sugar meals, or get more iron in your diet meals. They're a community meal plan that's supposed to be like a basis for inspiration, and kind of like a peep into what my customized meal planning services are. Um, you can find me on Facebook. It's Landon Gilfillan Nutrition. I really just kind of post my highlights there of what I'm doing in my program. So if you really want to follow me and follow along, you got to join my email list, because that's really where I keep people up to date. And I am running a 5-week challenge right now, and I'm going to be running another one in March or April. So if you want to learn more about that, again, you can go to my website, landongilfillan.com, and sign up for the email, and you'll get more information that way. So that's really where you can find me.
Awesome. Cool. And I am on Landon's email list. I get her newsletters, and I really enjoy them, even though we're in the same space and we have a lot of the same knowledge. I'm always open to learning. I love learning from, nutritionists and other coaches like Landon. And again, I'm talking about you in third person. But I just got to say, I just want to like give Landon's newsletter a shout out, that there's a lot of really great information in there, inspiration that is super helpful for me. So,
Good. Glad to know it. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, a lot of emails I turn into blogs. So there is my blog on my website. Kind of start there. But that's kind of really where I do most of my talking and where I let people know what's coming up, changes or programs or things like that. So
cool. Awesome. Yeah. I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. What does wellness abundance mean to you?
Wellness abundance. Ooh, I'm trying to think about that. I think it kind of stems in line with what we just talked about, like realizing that you have so much abundance within yourself to be able to do the things you want to do. Now, you may have to have a coach come alongside you and pull them out. But for me, it's recognizing that anyone can have wellness. Anyone can have health. We all struggle with different pain points, but through those pain points, we can grow stronger. We can gain so much. So I think when I think about that, it's like, if there's a pain point you're experiencing, I bet you can turn that pain point into a challenge that then helps you to grow as a person. So that's kind of what I think of when I hear those two words together.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Cool. Well, thank you again, Landon, for joining me today, and we'll catch up with you soon.
All right, Melissa, it was great talking as always. Have a wonderful week.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, girl. We'll see you around.
The Wellness Abundance Podcast is sponsored by Wellness Abundance Coaching. At Wellness Abundance Coaching, we help women lose weight effortlessly and minimize anxiety with clarity, empowerment, and flexibility. We offer one-on-one and group health coaching, corporate wellness programs, and on-demand fitness videos. To learn more about how we can help you become the healthiest version of yourself and to schedule a time to chat with us, visit melissaking.net.